This church was involved in a mission outreach to Guatemala in the summer of 1989 with Karen Scaringa. Karen had an outreach with some doctors and orphanages in Guatemala City, and she was also involved with a guy named Dr. Oscar Herrera in the Baja. After we got back from the trip, Karen asked me if I'd be interested in going again, and I said sure. Following March in 1990, she called me on the phone and said, remember that Dr. Herrera I told you about in the Clinica Santa Maria? And I said, yeah, down in Mexico. She said, yes. How would you like to go? I said, I would love to. And she said, get some people from your church. So I asked a number of people, and some said, no, we're not interested, or not right now. But Ken Vanderhei here and Kathy Vanderheyden and Pat Dykstra said yes. And so that's the four of us that went along with the group. She had some people from a church, Reformed church in Highland, and it was a good-sized group of adults. And we went down and we met Oscar Herrera, and we saw him in action. We saw him restart the heart of a grandfather that was brought in, had a heart attack, and his heart stopped. And when we were, kind of praising Dr. Herrera, saying, oh, good job, he said, these kind of things are in God's hands, not mine. He said, God determined that this man would live. And I think that was the defining moment for Ken and I. We started talking about it. We got to help this guy. He's a good Christian man. He knows where power comes from, and that's from above. So we decided that when we got back here, we decided that we would put it in gear and see what we could do to help that.
Yeah, what we saw was extreme poverty when we went down there, like we have never seen up here in the United States. The people were living in cardboard houses with dirt floors or corrugated metal houses that were about 12 by 12. They had no electricity, no running water. They had dirt floors. They had basically no sanitation as we know it. They actually had raw sewage running through the middle of their street, and children would be playing and a ball would go in the sewage and they would just pick it up and throw it back and play catch again with one another. And even their cooking they were doing in the house. Sometimes they wouldn't vent the exhaust to the outside, so much of the smoke that they used in their cooking would end up in the house. And you could go, when you visited the people and they invited you in for dinner at their house, you could see on the walls on the inside just like a caked on gray film that they were breathing in every day. And we just felt compelled by the Lord that it just wasn't right for people to have to go through that. And when we came back here, as Jerry said, he talked to Jim Molnar, and through his efforts and Rory Melendez and myself, all three of us then formed the Medi-Mex as a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. Clinic, when we went down there in 1990, was just a one-story building, and they did as much as they could to treat the patients that came in there. But as we worked with them over the last 25 years, we were able to convert that one-story clinic into a three-story hospital now called St. Mary's Hospital. In addition to that, we were able to bring down approximately $1 million in medical equipment to them. And some of the items that we were able to bring to them were defibrillators, beds, anesthesia machines, surgical lights, surgical beds, fetal monitors, an audiometer, film processor, a portable x-ray unit, view boxes, pulse oximeters, suction units.
Waiting area furniture.
Yeah, we had 13 electrical beds that we brought down, centrifuges, microscopes, things that they didn't even dream of being able to have because they could never afford it, but things that were given to me working in a hospital. And then Jerry was fortunate enough to contact North American Van Lines, who said they would transport the items for us for nothing from South Bend stop by, pick up the equipment from St. Catherine's or St. Mary's, and then transport it down to Chula Vista, and then we would get our trucks or bring trucks up from Mexico, transfer the equipment and boxes of clothes and hygienic supplies and so forth to those trucks, and then take them across the border down to the clinic. And then these in turn got put in use at the clinic to help the people, and in addition to that, we brought down medical supplies, antibiotics, vitamins, things that could be used by the people to improve the quality of life that they had down there.
And the Lord provided for us with people, the people that we needed. One trip, Ken's son-in-law and a couple of his brothers did all the carpeting. They carpeted Dr. living area, everything. It just did a wonderful job. Another trip, Jerry Decker and his son Jerry from our church went down and revamped the whole electric system down there, and the emergency room down the hallways, everything. New fuse boxes. It's just like when we needed something done, and we came back here to plan on it, the Lord just opened everything up to us. When I think back about it, some of the stuff, it just gives me chills from head to foot. Because at the time it's happening, you may not realize it, but all of a sudden you look back and you see providence, you see God's hand on the whole thing.
We had people that repaired their plumbing problems. We had a gentleman from Munster Community Hospital that laid 4,000 square feet of tile.
John Justak.
That re-tiled the entire clinic. We put up drywall for them. We painted. We basically redid the entire internal structure of the clinic. And it turned out extremely nice when we were done, and they were very proud of it. And we brought down some other supplies too, cabinets and things that they could use for medications, a sink and so forth, and a place to store their medications as well for the patients. We have donated an ambulance down there that was given to us by Fagan Miller up here. That was brought down there and donated to Dr. Herrera in the clinic. We had it painted with the name of the clinic on it. And we also took a group of or a couple paramedics along with us on one trip, and we provided a EMT class for a week for 13 of the San Quintin Valley ambulance drivers. They had never had a class before. They didn't know about extracting patients from accidents. They didn't know how to use collars on patients, spine boards, really any equipment that would help the patient be better off coming into the clinic than coming just by putting it in the back of a pickup truck or an ambulance, where they may do more harm than good. So the EMTs that we brought along gave them a week's course, including a written exam and a practical exam. And all of them passed the course. We gave them certificates. They were very proud of their certificates, but it also helped the clinic, not only Clinic of Santa Maria, but the other clinics and hospitals down there in the way they received their patients from that point on. One of the things that we saw when we went down there were children that had deformities and different medical conditions that were not able to be corrected in Mexico. So one of the things we wanted to do, and I talked to some of the physicians at St. Catherine's and St. Mary's, and Jerry dealt with individuals at Shriners Hospital as well. But we've taken up from Mexico to the United States approximately 15 different individuals from surgery, anywhere from open heart surgery to cleft lip and palate to hip replacement surgery to a reconstruction of an ear on a girl that was born without one. and several of those children stayed with families within our church here. And we're very gracious for them and very gracious for the physicians to donate their time and their skills to help these children. And then they would stay here with their foster parents in our church here for approximately 6 months to a year, sometimes a year and a half. It was also nice of Ron Howarda, who was the principal of Lansing Christian School, to provide a year's education free for them to also have, so that they would be able to get credit for that school year when they were up here in the United States. And then we would take them back down into Mexico and reunite them with their parents. And that was always a happy thing, to not only see the reunion, but the look on their face when they saw that their child had been cured or the deformity had been relieved from what they had when they left.
We had 3 long-term children. Marta Correa, who is now a U.S. citizen, of course, and is working on her nurse practitioner certification. She stayed with Clary and Joanne Smith. They opened their house up to her, and she stayed up here a long time. Also, the Torns opened their house to Lupita Saldana, and she was a grown lady and had polio as a child, and brought her up here and took care of her hip and her hand that was paralyzed. Torns were wonderful people. They couldn't speak Spanish, and I remember telling Mr. Torn, gee, I don't know how that's going to work. He says, it'll work, the Lord will provide, and they got along just fine. She learned a little English, and they learned a little Spanish, and it worked very, very well. And third child, Laura Gomez, stayed with the Decker family, Jim and Laura Decker. And of course, Laura speaks Spanish, so that was a wonderful, wonderful matchup. And we see Laura and Lupita in Mexico, and it's just it's a wonderful thing. It's a good connection, and the people here at church, they got to meet these kids and love them while they were here. Good thing.
And the nice thing too is they were able to learn a great deal of English while they were here, because they were engulfed in it in their classroom, and also at the foster family that was taking care of them primarily spoke English as well. And so when they left here, they had a fairly good grasp on a lot of the English language. So that was very useful for them as well.
The medical part of it is a big deal. It's a big part of our history. In recent years, within the last 10 to 15 years, house building has also been added. And we work with Welcome Home Ministries out of California, and they also, of course, have the orphanage in Vicente Guerrero. They started building houses for people down there, and they screen the families. They provide us with the names of the families and who we're going to build the houses for. The family has to either own property or have mortgage on a piece of property. A lot of people down there have property handed down from generations, but all the generations never had the money to build on it. So we step in and put a house up for them. They get some money, some aid from the Mexican government, and we put in the rest, so we double the size. We more than double the size of the house that the government builds, and we add a couple of windows and a door with a lock in it, and a divider wall, so it makes 2 rooms out of the house. But they're all screened by the orphanage. They know from the beginning that the house is being built by a Christian group. They know from the beginning that the Lord is providing for them. And when the houses are built, we have a ceremony. We give the family a Bible. We give them a sack of food, some other, and then of course Pastor Abel down there makes a statement and a little sermon. They know from the get going all through the process it's the work of the Lord. That's why their house is being built.
As Jerry mentioned, we have been working with Welcome Home Orphanage now for approximately 15 years. In the process, we've probably taken down 500 New Testaments and handed those out along with thousands of tracts to people. We've brought over 3,000 shoeboxes for the children, which we include a picture of the child who gives it up here, and the shoebox contains hygienic supplies and a toy, and then when we go down there, the child that receives it lifts the lid of the box, which shows the American child that donated it, and we take their picture with the Mexican child that received it, and then once we develop those films, those are given back to that American child so they can pray for the Mexican child in Mexico. You know, sometimes Jerry and I, we talk and we discuss about putting a trip together and who should be on it and which people we should include, but really it's the Lord's decision that determines who goes on the trip. Sometimes we have 20 people that want to go, we have 10 people that end up going, but we basically don't pick and choose those individuals. We feel that it's the Holy Spirit working in the heart of that person to make them want to go on the trip. And one instance of this, which is important to me, was Jim Smith from our church, who used to be our youth director, and he went on a trip with us as well as his wife Lene, who are both missionaries in Alaska at the present time. He said his desire and heart for missions came as a result of making a trip with Medi-Mex to Mexico. So we're grateful for that, and we're grateful for others that we're not even aware of now that may be having that same feeling within their heart that they want to go into full-time mission work. But we just thank the Lord that He puts the teams together, and we all seem to gel well, we all seem to get along, and it's because of His leading that this happens.
Over the years, we've had many experiences with the people down there, developed many relationships with people, families, Dr. Herrera and his family, families at the clinic that we met, just nurses and doctors, and then of course on up to Vicente Guerrero with the orphanage there, Casa Hogar Bienvenidos. We have many, many relationships there. Neri Omar Maya, the pastor that we support there, and many others. Jackie and Steve Scott, for years we had close relationships with them. And all these people are very much a part of our organization. And finally, I'd like to say that you people tonight that are here, you're the biggest part of our organization. Without your donations, without your help, it would have never happened. Without the help of First Church PCA here in Lansing, the many dollars that they've contributed, all we can say is thank you so much. And we thank the Lord for your participation, and we pray for His blessings on all of you.